And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie is one of the most thrilling and ingeniously plotted mystery novels ever written. This gripping audiobook takes listeners on a chilling journey to Soldier Island, a secluded paradise off the coast of Devon. 10 strangers, invited by an anonymous host, arrive with little more than vague promises of luxury and relaxation. But soon, they discover that the island holds a far darker purpose. As the guests settle into their isolated retreat, they are haunted by a mysterious nursery rhyme. And one by one, they begin to die in ways eerily foretold by the rhyme, with no one to trust and no way to escape. The survivors are left to unravel the deadly secrets surrounding their host and each other. Each character has a past they cannot escape. And as the body count rises, paranoia and fear take hold. Who is the killer? Could it be one of them? And why are they being targeted? In this timeless classic, Christie masterfully blends suspense, atmosphere, and intrigue, keeping listeners on the edge of their seats until the final, shocking revelation. Author's note: I had written this book because it was so difficult to do that the idea had fascinated me. 10 people had to die without it becoming ridiculous or the murderer being obvious. I wrote the book after a tremendous amount of planning, and I was pleased with what I had made of it. It was clear, straightforward, baffling, and yet had a perfectly reasonable explanation. In fact, it had to have an epilogue in order to explain it. It was well received and reviewed, but the person who was really pleased with it was myself, for I knew better than any critic how difficult it had been. Epigraph 10. Little soldier boys went out to dine. One choked his little self, and then there were 9. 9 little soldier boys sat up very late. One overslept himself, and then there were 8. 8 little soldier boys traveling in Devon. One said he'd stay there, and then there were 7. 7 little soldier boys chopping up sticks. One chopped himself in halves, and then there were 6. 6 little soldier boys playing with a hive. A bumblebee stung one, and then there were 5. 5 little soldier boys going in for law. One got in chancery, and then there were 4. 4 little soldier boys going out to sea. A red herring swallowed one, and then there were 3. 3 little soldier boys walking in the zoo. A big bear hugged one, and then there were 2. 2 little soldier boys sitting in the sun. One got frizzled up, and then there was 1. 1 little soldier boy left all alone. He went and hanged himself. And then there were none. Frank Green, 1869. Chapter 1. You didn't pull the rope. You stand at the foot of the staircase, staring up at the noose. It sways slightly in the still air, as if some invisible hand gave it a gentle push, mocking you, inviting you. The revolver is still warm in your hand. Lombard lies in the garden, unmoving. You didn't check for a pulse because you didn't need to. You aimed at his heart and pulled the trigger. The echo of the shot still clings to the walls. Even though the house has gone silent, you step forward, 1 foot on the first stair. This is what you were supposed to do. This is how it ends. You take the blame. You deliver the justice. You complete the rhyme. But your foot doesn't lift for the second step. Something presses back inside your chest. Not guilt, not fear. Something quieter, older, instinct. You glance around. The house is too quiet. Not peaceful, silent in that way a forest is silent right before the trap snaps shut. You feel it then. The wrongness. It's in the air, in the walls, in the way the rope doesn't quite hang right. You turn around slowly. Your heart beats a slow, heavy drum inside your ears. Nothing. No one. But you're sure the room is holding its breath. You don't climb the stairs. Instead, you move. Your legs take you out of the hallway, through the parlor, down into the study, the revolver still clenched like a lifeline. The grandfather clock ticks twice and then stops. Dead, like everyone else. You whisper to yourself that it's over. But even you don't believe it. The record player sits in the corner, shattered. You smashed it. You remember the crackle, the click, the voice accusing every one of you by name. It was Wargrave's voice. But now there's something else. A faint hum. You step into the drawing room, and your breath catches. The gramophone horn, it's spinning. Empty, not connected. But the turntable moves. No sound, just motion, mocking you again. You inch forward. The revolver trembles slightly. You can't trust your own hands anymore. You crouch, press a finger to the grooves. Cold, dusty, not played in hours. So how is it moving? You back away. There's no wind. All the windows are sealed. You remember the stories. The things people say about guilt, about madness. You aren't mad. You aren't. But someone else is, or was, or still might be. You head to the kitchen. You need water. Something. Anything normal. But the kitchen door is ajar. You left it closed, didn't you? You reach out, push it open slowly. The hinges groan like something ancient waking up. The room is dark, the curtains drawn, and in the middle of the table, there's a cup, a single porcelain teacup. Steam curls from it. Someone just made tea. Your mouth dries. The cup is bone white, untouched. But beside it, a second cup, half drunk, lipstick on the rim. Your color, but you haven't worn lipstick in days. You step back. A floorboard creaks behind you. You turn, nothing. Just the hallway. But the revolver is pointed now, without you even thinking. You're alone. You have to be. You watched them all die. You pulled the trigger. You saw the bodies. Unless you swallow the thought. Outside, the ocean thunders against the cliffs. You walk back to the stairs and look up at the noose again. It stopped swaying, but something else begins to swing. A chair. The one you placed just under the rope. It rocks gently, side to side, as if someone just stood from it. Chapter 2. The island isn't empty. You don't run. Running is what prey does. And if you start now, you'll never stop. So you do the only thing that keeps you human. You breathe. Once, then again, and you force your legs to carry you back into the parlor, toward the chair that's still rocking. It shouldn't be moving. You set it there yourself, right under the noose. A grim convenience, and now it sways back and forth, as if someone sat there, waited, then stood and walked away. But where? You circle it slowly, the revolver heavy in your grip. the barrel dark as the thoughts collecting in your mind. There are only so many places left to hide. The cellar, the attic, or worse, somewhere inside you. Because maybe that's where the real killer always was. Not Wargrave, not Owen, not even Hugo. Maybe you touch the chair, it's warm, still warm. You whip around. Every door looks wrong. Every hallway curves like it's bending away from logic. This house was built for secrets. You know that now. A theater of shadows, designed to unravel the mind. Inch by inch. You hear it then, not footsteps, not breathing. A different kind of sound, low, guttural, like the scrape of nails on the wall behind the paneling. The walls don't answer, but your skin does, tight, electric, humming with the sense of something unseen pressing closer. You whisper to the dark, "I know you're there." The silence that follows agrees with you. You don't wait for an answer. You climb, not up the stairs to the noose, but up the narrow, back corridor leading to the attic. The servant's path. The one you've ignored all these days because it felt beneath you. But now you belong there. Each step groans. The wood complains. But you keep going until the door comes into view, splintered, warped, held shut by a rusted bolt. You draw it back. Inside, dust, broken furniture, the smell of mothballs, and something else, something sweet, rotten sweet, like oranges gone black. You swing the beam of your flashlight left, right, up, and freeze. A coat, a black judge's robe, hung neatly on a hook. Wargrave's robe. You saw him dead. Bullet to the forehead. Slumped in a chair. Justice served. So why is his robe here? And why is the inside still damp? You hear another sound, soft, behind you. A breath that doesn't belong to you. You spin too late. A gloved hand knocks the revolver from your grip. You fall hard against the attic wall. Dust and plaster erupting like smoke. But no one follows up. There's no second strike, just silence. You blink, the door's open again. The attic is empty. Your revolver lies near the trapdoor. You reach it, trembling. You don't trust the floor to hold. You don't trust your hand not to miss. But you grab it, and when you swing the beam around, there's a message now, scrawled on the inside of the attic wall, in what looks like coal or something darker. You were never meant to leave. Chapter 3. The letter in the fireplace. You descend the attic ladder with the weight of something more than fear. You're no longer wondering if the island is empty. You know it isn't. You know the game didn't end when the bodies stopped falling. It just changed. You touch your chest heartbeat like a ticking clock, counting down to something you can't see. The revolver is back in your hand, but it feels lighter now. Not because it's less dangerous, but because it's no longer enough. Downstairs, the house is still pretending to be silent. You pass the parlor. The chair under the noose has stopped rocking. But the noose that still waits. You don't look at it. Instead, you follow the smell. Ash. Smoke. Something burned, but not wood. Paper. You enter the drawing room. The fireplace smolders with a faint orange glow. Something recently fed to the flames. You kneel. Ash clings to the stone lip like black snow. You sift it with your fingers, warm, brittle. Then you see it, a fragment that didn't catch, part of an envelope. The edges burned, but the handwriting survives. Miss Claythorne, your name, written in ink that's still wet in places. This wasn't written days ago. This was written tonight. You reach deeper, fingers now inside the cooled coals. You pull out what's left of the letter, half gone, but enough remains. You were meant to live, but only if you chose to die. If you failed the test, the justice must continue. You stare? The flames behind your eyes burn hotter than the ones in the hearth. This wasn't over. Not even after Lombard fell. Not after Wargrave's final act. There was a second layer, a deeper game. You passed the first test. You pulled the trigger, but you didn't hang. And now you're fair game again. You crumple the letter. It flakes into black dust in your hand. You don't need more warnings. You need the truth. You turn and scan the room. The portraits, the shelves, the clock that always reads the wrong time. All of it staged. The house isn't just a trap. It's a message. You notice the bookcase. Something about it has always been off. Too symmetrical, too untouched. You run your hand along the edge. Dust parts easily. But one book slides, the only one without resistance. You pull it. There's a click. A panel opens, a narrow passage, dark and breathing cold. You hesitate, then step inside. The walls are close. You can hear your own breath come back to you in echoes shaky, fast, almost childlike. This was built for hidings or hunting. At the end of the narrow path, a faint light leaks under a second door. You push it open. You don't gasp. You don't scream. You've used all that up. But you feel something break loose inside your chest. The room is filled with photographs. Candids. All of you. Before the island. Before the accusations. There's one of you on a beach with Hugo. Laughing. Unaware. Another of Lombard. Talking to a man in a bar. A third of Dr. Armstrong in his study. Bloor in uniform. Emily Brent reading from her Bible. Private moments. Moments no one should have had access to. You step forward, lightheaded. In the center of the room, a chair. Facing a desk. And on that desk, a logbook. Open with today's date. And a final entry. You read it. Slowly. She didn't hang. The experiment continues. You reach for the page to turn it, and a voice whispers behind you. Why didn't you? Chapter 4. The voice in the passage. You spin around, revolver raised, but the passage is empty. No footsteps, no shadow fleeing, just the quiet suck of air, as if the walls themselves inhaled the secret they just exhaled. You're shaking now, but not from fear, from fury, because someone is watching you, not just following, orchestrating, and you've had enough of being the subject in someone else's trial. You storm back to the desk. The logbook stares up at you. That last line hanging there like a taunt. She didn't hang. You flip the pages. Everyone is dated. Each entry like a diary of judgment. Bloor searches the pantry for the 5th time. Still thinks the poison came from food. Armstrong panics. Good. Emily prays harder when she starts to doubt. MacArthur cries at dawn. A broken war machine. It isn't just an observer. It's someone who knew. Them knew all of you. Knew your guilt like a scent. And you realize something else. This log doesn't end with Wargrave's death. It keeps going. After. Beyond. Someone else took up the pen. You close the book gently. Then you look around the room again. The photos, the lists, the dates. It's not just a watcher's room. It's a study, the kind where gods decide who lives. And you're tired of being mortal. You leave the study behind, close the hidden panel behind you, and you start searching the house, not like a guest, not like a prisoner, but like the hunter you've been forced to become. The kitchen? Empty. The library? The fireplace cold? But in the dining room, you stop. Someone has reset the table. 10 chairs, 10 plates, 10 knives, and in the center, the porcelain figurines are back. All 10. You remember breaking one with your own hand. You remember, but here they are, whole, a fresh start. You walk to your place. Your name is on the card, and something is tucked beneath it, a note. You may leave once the justice is complete, not before. You crumple the card, teeth grinding. You get it now. You're not a survivor. You're the final act. But the question twists in your mind like a knife. If you're not the guilty one anymore, who is? You don't trust the answers in your head. You trust what's real. And what's real is still hidden on this island. You step out into the wind. Night is rising again. The house stretches behind you like a grave that hasn't closed yet. You follow the garden path toward the cliffs. The sea hisses below, cold, eternal. And then you see it, a second boat, half sunken. Hidden in the cove, not the boat that brought you here. Another, you climb down the rocks, hands scraping granite. The hull is cracked, but the name is still legible. Evans, that name again, the one no one asked about, the one that started this. You drop to your knees in the sand, because now you know this island didn't just kill the past, it resurrected something worse. Chapter 5. The Evans Directive. You kneel by the wreckage until the sea creeps at your boots and the cold sinks into your bones. That name, Evans, it clings like wet fog to your thoughts. You turn it over in your mind like a coin, worn by too many hands. Someone spoke it once in the last breath of a dying man, a riddle wrapped in panic. Why didn't they ask Evans? You thought it was a mistake, a hallucination, a thread that led nowhere. Now it's carved into the prow of a boat, abandoned in a cove that no one on this island should have known about. And suddenly, it clicks. You weren't all brought here for your sins. You were brought here for someone else's question. You stand and search the wreckage. The tide is coming in, swallowing secrets like it always does. You find a pack-rotted canvas, waterlogged. Inside, papers sealed in oilskin, barely legible. You read, lips moving silently in the dimming light. Evans arrived 4 days prior to setup. Codename Shepard. Role unclear. Observed by OWO. Final transmission lost. Assumed dead. Vessel compromised. Recovered only remnants. If subject fails protocol, contingency Omega initiates full reset. You don't breathe for several seconds. Evans wasn't a victim. Evans was the first, the bait, the observer, maybe the executioner. You walk back up the path, legs shaking now, not with fear, but with purpose, because you finally understand something that no one else did. This wasn't just judgment. It was a controlled experiment. Wargrave was never alone in this. Someone else was watching from the beginning. And now that the judge is dead, someone has taken his gavel. You return to the house. The lights are on. All of them. No one should be alive to light them, unless you raise the revolver, step inside. Silence waits in every room until you reach the bedroom. Your bedroom, the door is ajar, a faint flicker of candlelight inside. You nudge it open with your foot, and there, on your bed, is a black envelope, no name, just the wax seal. A scale, perfectly balanced. You break it, inside a single line on heavy paper. You are the last variable. Your fingers curl around the message. You sit on the bed, gun across your knees. Yes, he does. This isn't about escape anymore. This is about uncovering who Evans really was, because Evans is still here, somewhere, watching. Chapter 6. The final variable. You don't sleep. You sit in the dark, staring at the flickering candle and the note that refuses to burn. You are the last variable. You've been called many things in your life: governess, survivor, suspect, but never a variable. Not until now. The word unsettles something deep in your chest, because it means someone's been running the numbers. You were never meant to live this long. Something went wrong with their equation, and now they're watching to see how you balance the scale. You rise as dawn seeps in through the slatted windows. The candle has burned low. The wax pools like blood on the letter's edge. You pocket the note and leave the room. Today, you hunt. The house is colder than usual. No footsteps. No whispers. You stalk the hallways like they belong to you now. And maybe they do. Every room is a memory, a tomb. You pause in front of Bloor's door, still locked from the inside. You remember the sound, bone against rock. But something's off. You pick the lock with a hairpin and push the door inward. The room's untouched. Too untouched. On the wall, someone has drawn an X in charcoal. Next to it, in perfect script, subject de-eliminated. Cranium trauma. Result consistent. You step back. Someone's cataloging the deaths. You rush to the next room. Rogers and Mrs. Rogers, 2 names. 2 X's, subject E and F sedated. Result adequate. Method compound ingestion. This isn't the judge's work. This is something colder, clinical. You reach Lombard's room. Your breath catches. A new message. Subject G, neutralized by subject HV. C. Observation deviation acknowledged. Authorization pending. Your subject H, and someone's still updating this file. You check the back of the door. Fresh chalk marks. A pattern. The same as the ones carved into the study desk. A code. And you understand in a sickening wave, this was never about 10 strangers and their guilt. This was about one outcome. Yours, back in the study. You pull out the logbook. Every page was a trial run. Each justice a step closer to calibrating your decisions. You find the final page. One word. Observe underneath it. Fresh ink still wet. Your hand flies to your revolver. You're not alone. Someone has been here since before dawn. The wind shifts. A floorboard creaks. And then, from the doorway, a voice, soft, controlled. You're doing well, Vera. Better than expected. You raise the gun fast, smooth, but your fingers tremble. Because the man standing in the doorway, you've seen him before. Once, in a photograph, tucked in a book Wargrave kept beside his bed, captioned Evans, Intelligence Liaison, 1922. But he's older now, alive, and smiling. Chapter 7. Evans is real. He doesn't speak again. He lets the silence tighten around you like a noose, waiting to see what you'll do. You don't lower the gun, but you don't fire either, because if he's real, if Evans is standing in front of you, Then everything you believed about this island just split down the middle. Why, you whisper? The word dry and cracked? He steps into the room slowly, hands in view, not afraid, like he's seen this moment coming since the first body dropped. To see if guilt could be engineered, he says, you feel it then, not fear, not rage, clarity, the kind that comes when the lies finally run out. Wargrave was a technician. He says he provided the framework, but the test was always psychological. You watch his eyes. They never flinch. He gestures toward the study's desk, where the last candle has guttered out. We needed someone pure. Someone who believed in justice, but not for others, for themselves. And that's me, you say flatly. He nods. No hesitation. You were the unknown factor, the only one who didn't fold under the weight of your own crime. You want to shout that they're wrong, but you can't. Because deep down, you've known it since Cyril's face went under and didn't come back up. You survived by hiding the truth from yourself, and now you don't even know what part of you they tested anymore. He reaches into his coat. You tighten your grip on the trigger, but he only pulls out a worn envelope, sets it down on the table. Open it when you're ready. It contains your final directive. He turns. Where are you going? You demand. He stops in the doorway. I'm not part of the test anymore. You are. Then he's gone. No footsteps. No sound. Just gone. The envelope is heavier than it should be. Auntie. You peel it open with trembling fingers. Inside, a map of the island hand-drawn, with a red X at the cellar, a photograph of you, taken through a window you thought was secure, and a single typed sheet. Subject, final phase. Behavior adaptive. Deviation. Acceptable. Risk elevated. Threat level gray. Recommendation. Activation of phase omega. If emotional instability presents, note, if subject eliminates Evans, test deemed failure. You lower the paper. Evans is bait. Evans is the final judge. And you're the one being weighed. You look toward the cellar, a place you haven't dared go. Something waits there, not a body, not another trap. Something older. Something you've been building toward this whole time. You close your eyes, and for the first time since this began, you make peace with the gun in your hand. Not as a weapon, but as a question. One that only you can answer. Chapter 8. The cellar. You descend. Each step groans under your weight. But it's not the wood you hear. It's your breath. Measured, ragged, like a diver going deeper than they were ever meant to go. The cellar was never locked. You realize that now. It was fear that sealed it. Yours. The door gives way with a soft push. What hits you first isn't darkness. It's cold. Not the kind you feel on your skin. The kind that reaches through your rib cage and fingers your spine. A single lantern burns in the far corner. Beside it a chair, and beside the chair a table. Steel. Institutional. You approach slowly, the revolver loose in your hand, but ready. Laid out on the table like a surgical tray, a typewriter, keys stained with age, a reel-to-reel recorder humming, already rolling, and a sheet of paper half fed into the platens. You step closer. The paper reads, Day 10. Subject H has reached threshold phase. Initiate memory confrontation sequence. You blink. The room isn't a room anymore. It's a stage, and you're both the performer and the experiment. You lower yourself into the chair. The recorder clicks sharper now. You didn't touch it. The reel spins faster. Then the voice. Cyril, your eyes snap up. It's not Evans. It's not Wargrave. It's your voice. Playing back in reverse. Chopped. Distorted. He couldn't swim, but he wanted to try. You said you'd watch. You lunge for the machine, but your hands freeze midair. The voice shifts. You watched. You let him go under. And you felt what relief. No. You whisper, that's not. You wanted the job, you wanted freedom, and you got it. The typewriter begins typing by itself. Clack, clack, clack. Verdict, self-judgment pending. You back away from the table. This isn't about justice anymore. It never was. This is about choice. You could walk out now, find Evans, end it. Or, you stare at the revolver in your hand. One bullet left, a variable, an equation with no answer, and a boy's name you'll never stop hearing in your dreams. You scream, not out loud, but something inside you snaps so loudly you feel it in your teeth. You grab the paper, rip it. You smash the recorder to the floor, and the moment it shatters, so does the illusion. The light goes out. The voice stops. The air shifts. And behind you, a door opens. Hibiscus, one that was never there before. You step through into a narrow tunnel, lit by bulbs strung along wire like breadcrumbs. The passage curves down, deeper, to something that was never meant to be found. Chapter 9. The Forgotten Room. The tunnel ends in silence. You expected dripping water, rats, maybe your own breath echoing back. But there's nothing, just a thick velvet quiet that settles on your shoulders like a funeral shroud. The last light flickers behind you and dies. Now you're in it. Deep, buried, exactly where someone or something wanted you to be. You reach the door. It's old, older than the house above. Carved symbols you can't name run the frame like veins. No handle, no lock, but it opens. Pince. Of course it does. And when it does, you're hit with a wave of recognition. You've never been here before. But you know this place because it's not just a room. It's memory made solid. There's a piano in the corner, dustless, polished. You cross the room like you're being pulled by thread. When your fingers touch the keys, they respond. Not with sound, with images. Cyril's face, water in his mouth, Hugo turning away, the tribunal, the noose, the 10 little soldiers on the mantelpiece. One by one by one. You rip your hand back, but the room isn't done. A panel slides open on the far wall. A screen behind it lights up, flickers, and they're grainy, but unmistakable. You see yourself. Not now. Before. On the island. In the house. Reading letters. Moving bodies. Speaking to people you now know are dead. You're being watched. You were always being watched. A rustle behind you. You spin, gun up. Evans. No weapon, no threat. Just watching you. This is the end. Vera. His voice is low. Even. You've heard calmer men panic. You step toward him. Is it you ask? It was always going to end with one of us. He looks at the screen. You were supposed to crack, to collapse, to fail. And now, I don't know. You raise the revolver. It feels light. Too light. You thumb the hammer back. One bullet, always one. You said this was a test. It was, what if I refuse to play? Then you fail. What if I kill you? Then you prove you were never innocent. He steps forward, close enough to touch. Or you shoot the screen, burn the tape, break the pattern. You hesitate. Because this isn't a decision about survival anymore. This is about who you are and who you were never allowed to be. You lower the gun. Aim at the screen. The moment your finger squeezes the trigger, the world explodes in light. Glass shatters. The screen dies, and something in you dies with it. But something else is born. When the smoke clears, Evans is gone. And you're alone again. But the room isn't watching anymore. And for the first time in days, maybe years, you're free, or so you think. Chapter 10. The exit that wasn't you. Follow the corridor up. The air is warmer now, less damp, more metallic, like blood left too long in the sun. Your steps echo behind you, not ahead, because what lies ahead doesn't echo. It absorbs. The tunnel rises. You think of light, of rescue, of out. But when you reach the final door, you know, there is no out. Only next, you open it. The room beyond is clean, sterile, bright. In that unnatural way, morgues are bright. The walls are tiled, white. The center of the room holds one thing, a table, and on that table, a mirror, framed in steel, tilted just so. You step forward. You don't want to, but you have to, because something's humming inside you. Not curiosity, guilt. And it wants to see. The mirror doesn't reflect your face. Not exactly. It shows versions. You in a courtroom. You pulling Cyril from the water too late. You standing over Lombard's body. You tying the noose. You firing the gun. You watching, always watching, yourself. Then a whisper, not behind you, inside you. You've seen the worst. Now make a choice. You blink, the mirror shifts. Now there are two images, left you walking free. Alone. No justice. No judgment. Right you confessing. To nothing. To everything. To yourself. Two futures. Both lies. You raise the revolver. Still one bullet. Shoot the mirror. You don't know whose voice it is. Yours, Evans's, the island's. But your hand steadies. And then you fire. Glass explodes. The bullet ricochets into the tile. And you duck. When you rise, the room is dark again. The mirror gone. The table empty. Only your reflection remains. On the floor, in shards, fragmented, like the story they tried to trap you in. A door opens behind you. You don't turn. You walk through, not because you know where you're going, but because you're done being watched, done being measured. It's your turn now to decide what kind of monster you'll be. Chapter 11. The Man Who Wasn't There. You emerge into a study, wood-paneled. Books lined up like soldiers awaiting inspection. Fireplace dead cold. Dust on everything. Except the desk. And the man behind it, he looks like he belongs here. Silver hair. Suit too sharp for the setting. Eyes like x-rays cut through you. No hesitation. But he doesn't rise, doesn't smile, doesn't blink. You made it further than expected, he says. You say nothing. Because this is him, the architect, the conductor, the ghost in the wires. Wargrave, but not. He gestures to the chair across from him. You sit, because in this room, power isn't in movements, it's in stillness. You've broken the pattern, he says, but not the design. You tilt your head. You're dead. Was I ever alive? Or was I just what the others needed to believe in? He folds his hands. A judge without a bench. Just a script burned into the air. You saw what they wanted. What you wanted. Confession. Closure. Catharsis. He leans in. Do you feel better? You hesitate, and that's enough answer for him. The game never ends, Vera. He slides a folder across the desk. You don't touch it, but it opens anyway. Inside, photos. Typed reports. witness statements. Of you, pages and pages of observation, handwriting changes, but the tone remains the same. Cold, analytical, clinical. You were the subject, not the guest. Evans was the control. He says, you were the variable. You laugh. Because it's the only thing left. You built all of this just to test me. No, he replies, to test human nature. And what did you learn? That when stripped of law and consequence, truth doesn't set anyone free. It just leaves them alone. He stands. The room tilts slightly, like the island is shifting under your feet. There's a boat waiting. You rise, but not for escape. You say, no. He smiles, faintly, for the next chapter. You turn toward the door and pause. You're not real. Neither are you. If you walk out that door and pretend none of this happened. You don't say goodbye. You walk out, because some ghosts don't vanish. They watch, and some trials never end. They just move courts. Chapter 12. The boatman's question. The path is narrow. Sea wind rising. The cliffs on either side crouch like judges, silent and unyielding. You follow the trail down. At the bottom, the dock, and waiting at the end, a man in oilskins, hunched, weather-worn, face carved by salt and time. The boat rocks gently beside him. One seat, one oar. One choice? You're late, he says. You don't answer, because the answer is too long, too painful, too unreal. You're the last, he adds. You flinch, because you don't want to be the last. You want someone else to be behind you, to carry the weight, to verify that it wasn't all in your head. But they're not, just you, and the sea, and him. Where to, he asks. You look at him, hard. There's something about his eyes, too familiar. Not Evans, not Wargrave, not even Cyril, but something in between. Where to, he repeats. You step into the boat. The wood creaks, like it remembers everyone who's ever left this island and never made it home. You sit, and then you ask, does it matter? The man grins. Depends. You looking for truth or peace? You don't respond, because the truth was peace. Once, now it's just noise. He begins to row. No motor, just muscle and tide. The island recedes, like it's relieved to be rid of you. But the sea doesn't care. It just is, halfway across. He stops rowing, lets the boat drift, then turns to you, slow and deliberate. Fud. You think you're leaving something behind. He says, you're not. The waves slap the hull like a heartbeat. You brought it with you. You look down and see the folder. The one from Wargrave's desk, still on your lap. You don't remember picking it up, but it's there, sealed shut now, waiting. You gonna open it? He asks. You shake your head. Then it owns you, he says. He starts to row again. But you don't watch the shore. You don't watch the sea. You watch the folder. Because inside it is everything they want you to believe. And maybe, just maybe, everything you don't. The boat touches land. Not the mainland, but another shore, familiar and wrong. The man points inland. This way, he says. Trial's not over yet. You follow, because you have no choice. Not anymore, and maybe never did. Chapter 13. The town that forgot itself. The village is quiet, too quiet. Not the kind of quiet that comes from peace, the kind that comes from forgetting. Cottages line the narrow lane like props on a set. Curtains drawn, shutters bolted. You pass a postbox, rusted shut. A pub sign creaking in the wind. The gallows rest, no welcome. No people, only echoes. You walk the main road. Each step kicks up dust. Each house looks just familiar enough to hurt. Then you see it, a shop window. Inside, a display of children's shoes. Polished, perfect. No dust, no cobwebs, but no shopkeeper either. You step closer and see the reflection. Not yours, hers, Vera, before the island, before Cyril, before Lombard, her smile frozen in glass, an impossible memory. You turn and the street behind you is gone. Only fog, lost. Are we? The voice comes from behind the counter. A woman, face pinched, eyes milky, but sharp. She leans on the till like she's been waiting decades for you. You came from the island. She says, not a question. You nod, because denial won't work here. They always do. Eventually, you step inside. She doesn't move, only watches. You carrying it, you know what she means. You place the folder on the counter. Her hands don't touch it, but her eyes scan it like x-rays. What do you want me to do? You hesitate, then whisper, tell me what's real. She snorts. Darling, you lived it. That's as real as it gets. You press, did I choose? You always choose, she says. Even when you say you didn't. She finally reaches for the folder. Opens it, inside not photos. Keep. Come on, Mom. Not reports, just a list. 10 names. Yours at the bottom. One line beside each. Died, 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 until hers. Wargrave wrote this. She says, but he ain't God. He just liked to dress like him. You reach out, next to your name. Survived. And next to it, a question mark. Just one. You look up him. She's gone. Only the folder remains. And beside it, a ticket. Train, one way. No destination printed. Just a time, 11:11. You pocket it and step outside. The fog lifts, revealing a platform ahead. Empty, except for a bench and a shadow sitting on it. You head toward it. Because now you need to know what the next station brings. Chapter 14. The Man on the Bench. The platform is suspended in stillness. No announcements, no clocks, no wind, just the sound of your footsteps, echoing off concrete and doubt. He's waiting, hat pulled low, newspaper folded, unread, in his lap. He doesn't look up when you approach. He just says, thought you'd miss the train. You don't recognize the voice, but it knows you. That's what matters. You got the ticket. You hold it out. He doesn't touch it, just nods. Then you're ready for what you ask, the part you play next. You sit beside him, close enough to feel the weight of his stillness, like he's made of stone and secrets. You think you're different from the others, he says, because you walked away. You don't reply, because you're not sure he's wrong. You remember what Vera said to Lombard before she pulled the trigger. You blink. You said, Amati. Because you said it. You're all the same. All of you. He nods, satisfied. So why are you still here? The silence stretches. You think of Wargrave, of the judge playing executioner, of Cyril's small body in the surf, of Vera's hands trembling after the noose. Because I didn't finish the story. You whisper. The man turns toward you, his face still shadowed, but you feel the shift. You think survival means escape. You nod. It doesn't, he says. It means witness. A distant rumble, far off, low and metallic. The train is coming. Sankum. You go back, he says, but not to peace, not to forget. You go back to see what they'll do next, what you'll become. The train screeches into view. No conductor, no passengers, just an open door and your name, etched into the glass. You rise. He doesn't. I stay here, he says. This is my platform. Yours is still ahead. You step onto the train. The air inside smells of coal and paper and ash. You turn back, but the man is gone. So is the bench. So is the station. Just you. And the forward motion. The lights flicker. The folder is on the seat beside you again. Still sealed, but you swear the question mark beside your name is starting to fade, like an answer is finally forming. And maybe, just maybe, you won't like what it is. Chapter 15. The passenger who wasn't listed. The train lurches, metal wheels groaning like they remember where they're going, even if you don't. You're alone in the carriage. At least, you think so. You watch the countryside blur past the window. But it's not countryside. Not really. Just fragments. A noose swaying from an apple tree. A child's toy half buried in the sand. A revolver spinning endlessly on a table. Memories. Warnings. You can't tell anymore. The lights flicker again. A flicker too long. When they return, someone else is sitting across from you. A man, face pale, smile wide. Too wide. He wears a doctor's coat, blood on the cuffs. Room for one more, he asks. You try to speak. But your throat is full of guilt. You thought we were done, didn't you? He says. 10 little soldiers, all accounted for. Except you forgot the rules. What rules? The story doesn't end when the last verse is sung. It ends when the truth is heard. He taps the window. Outside a courtroom. Empty, except for the judge. Wargrave, robed, still watching you. You blink. The window becomes countryside again. The doctor is still there, still smiling. But now, he holds something in his hand. A syringe, glass, old-fashioned. You recoil. Don't worry, he says. It's not for you. It's for clarity. The train slows. Unscheduled stop. Outside, a burned-out station. No sign, no people. Just smoke curling like a question. The doctor rises. We're almost there, he says. But you won't like the next stop. He moves to the door. Turns back once. Ask yourself something. He says, if you survive, why hasn't the guilt? And then he's gone. The train moves again. Faster. You stare down. The folder is open now, and the names, they're rearranged in a circle. No beginning, no end. Just spinning, endless judgment. You reach for your own name. It slides away. Like truth itself. There's one final line scrawled at the bottom. The passenger who wasn't listed is you. And suddenly you realize you're not riding to escape the island. You're riding through it. Again and again. And again. Chapter 16. Station nowhere known. The train screeches to a halt. No voice announces the stop. No conductor appears. Just silence thick enough to strangle. You step out. The platform is cracked concrete. No sign. No schedule. Only a plaque rusted beyond reading. The air smells of something old, like wet earth and unsaid apologies. You walk. No destination. Only motion. Past rusted benches. Past shattered clocks. You follow a corridor marked judgments and revisions. The words shift when you blink. Now they say, confessions and regrets. You push through the door. Inside, a room lined with mirrors. But they don't show your face. Not at first. Each mirror shows one of them. Lombard. Bullet in his chest. Vera, eyes wide. rope marks around her throat. MacArthur, waiting peacefully for a blow that never misses. Blore, frozen mid-fall, all of them frozen in the moment after they realized. They were guilty. They were chosen. The last mirror is blank until you stand before it, and it flickers. You, not as you are, but as you were, the child before the lie, the friend before the betrayal, the survivor before survival cost more than death. Your hand reaches out. The mirror doesn't reflect, it absorbs. Your fingers vanish inside the glass. Then, the room shifts. The walls dissolve into mist. And a chair appears in the middle. Wooden, simple, waiting. You sit because there's nowhere else to go now. Oh, the mist pulls back like a curtain, revealing him, Wargrave, alive. No, but real enough. Robes dragging, eyes steady. Back again, he says. You nod because all denials have drained from you. You were always the wild card. He says, not on the list, not planned. But you stayed. I didn't ask to. None of us did. But we all answered. He hands you something. Heavy, cold, a revolver. Last time, Vera held it. You nod. This time, it's yours. You look down. 6 chambers. 5 bullets. There's only one target left, he says. You look up and realize he's not talking about him. He's talking about you. Chapter 17. The 6th bullet. You stare at the gun. It stares back. The cold iron weight of decision rests in your palm. 6 chambers. 5 sealed by fate. 1 left open for choice. Across the mist, Wargrave watches. Yes. Patient, detached. Like a man who's read the last page but won't spoil the ending. You're not on the list, he says again. But the island chose you anyway. You want to speak. But the silence is louder than anything you could say. You rise, and suddenly the mist parts like breath on glass. You're back on the island, same rocky beach. Oh. Same faded mansion on the cliff, except it's empty now. Not silent, but expectant. Like the walls are waiting for something they've heard before. You walk through the door. Inside, the drawing room is preserved like a tomb. The broken gramophone still on the table. The 10 soldier figurines, shattered, but swept into a circle. The rope, coiled like a question mark. You hear footsteps. Y'all separate kate. Your own until they aren't? She's standing there, Vera, or the echo of her. Not ghost, not memory. Something worse. You pulled the trigger, she says softly. Not for justice, for survival. You raise the gun. Out of instinct, not threat. She doesn't flinch. I died anyway. She says, so did he. So did we all. The revolver trembles, not from fear, from weight, of what it meant, of what it still means. You think the bullet was the end, she asks. It was just the start. She steps closer. Her eyes are salt water and sorrow. You're still carrying it, the 6th bullet. You look down. The chamber is full now. 6 of 6. Peace. No room for escape. The room begins to dissolve. Walls bleeding away like ink and water. And you're left in the void again. You, Wargrave, and the gun. So, the judge says, what will you do? You don't know. But your finger moves anyway. Not to the trigger, to the latch. You break the revolver open. All 6 bullets fall. Clink it, clink it, clink it. Onto the floor. of nothing. Unless I'm not playing your game. You say, not anymore. Wargrave's expression flickers. The first crack in the mask, and then he vanishes, just like that. You're alone, truly alone. And yet, it's the first time you feel like you're not trapped, not escaping, just beginning again. Chapter 18, The Island That Follows You Walk. But there's no ground. Just space, soft and gray, stretching in every direction like the inside of a thought. No echo, no horizon, only you and the memory of a place that keeps coming back. Entity. Behind your eyelids, the island never leaves, waves breaking like guilty laughter, shadows coiling in corners where sunlight shouldn't reach, footsteps that never belong to just one person. You try to forget, but the island is a parasite. It doesn't need to be real to be with you. Your feet touch something solid, stone. You're standing at the edge of the mansion again. But this one is different. It's not crumbling. It's waiting, alive in the way guilt is alive, quiet, patient, incurable. The doors open for you. No resistance. You step inside. And this time, you're not alone. They're all there. Not ghosts, not hallucinations, just memories, living, breathing reenactments of what they were before the storm came. Blore is laughing at something no one else finds funny. Lombard is counting bullets he won't get to use. Vera is staring out the window, already halfway to the end. Wargrave is arranging the chessboard again, waiting for your move. You brought us back. Someone says. You turn. It's Emily Brent. Alive. Composed, clutching that invisible Bible of judgment in her spine. You carry us, she says, so we never left. You try to deny it, but your hands are shaking. There's sand under your nails. Still, after all this time, you close your eyes, breathe, and open them to something new. Not the mansion, not the courtroom, not the mirror corridor. Just a chair, one chair, facing another, and in the other, you, or what you were, or what you still might be. Why did you survive? The other you asks. Why didn't you stop it? You don't answer, because maybe silence is the truest confession. The other you fades. The chair remains. You sit again. The circle completes. And just as you think it's over, you hear it. That rhyme. That damn rhyme. Faint, like a breath over your shoulder, 10 little soldier boys went out to dine. And you smile, not because it's funny, but because it never really ended, and it never will. Chapter 19. The last verse never written. You thought the rhyme had ended. You were wrong. It plays again, soft and slow. Somewhere between your heart and your memory, 10 little soldier boys went out to dine. The voice is a child's now, but warped like an old vinyl that's melted under guilt and fire. You listen, not because you want to, but because you have no choice. Each line drops like a knife into the pit of your stomach, one by one, tick by tick, life by life, until it stops short, 9 gone, and the last line missing, as if the rhyme itself has lost the will to finish. You know why? You're still here, and that means the story's still open. You rise from the chair, not because it's time, because there's nothing else left to do. You walk through a hallway now, one that didn't exist before. The walls are lined with names, not just the 10. More, so many more, each carved like an accusation. each ending with a question mark instead of a period. You find a blank wall, you run your finger across it, and your name appears, not written, etched from inside. Your name. It's not asking what you did. It's asking if you'll do it again. Because guilt isn't about what happened. It's about what you'll carry forward. The hallway ends at a door. Wooden, unpainted, no knob. Just a simple sign carved in reverse. Write your own verse. You push. It opens. And suddenly, you're in a room that looks like the island. But it isn't. The trees are too still. The house too sharp. The sea doesn't move. It's a replica. Perfect. Dead. Waiting. You look down. The revolver is in your hand again. Fully loaded. 6 chances to make one choice. The verse is yours now. No rhyme. No rules. Only what you write next. You take a breath. You raise the weapon. You face the mirror again. And this time, you see everything. Chapter 20. The island leaves with you. You fire. But the sound isn't a bang. It's a whisper. A release. Like a page turning in a book. No one ever finishes. The mirror doesn't shatter. It sighs. And your reflection steps forward, not to accuse you, but to join you. You walk together, 2 shadows, same weight, same silence, until you reach the shoreline of this unreal island. The waves lap at your feet, but they leave no trace. Behind you, the mansion begins to dissolve. First the roof, then the windows, then the walls. The rhyme finally breaks. A hush after centuries of repetition. Is it over? Your reflection asks. You don't answer, because it never really is. The dead may rest. But the idea of them, that never dies. The sea glows ahead, not moonlight, not sunrise, just memory. A memory too big to drown, too heavy to bury. You step in, so does your shadow, and the island begins to recede. Behind you, inside you, all at once. When you reach the boat, it's waiting, unmanned, untouched. You take the oar, and for the first time, you're not rowing away from something. You're rowing with it. The mainland comes into view, lights like faint stars. The life you knew, flickering in the distance. You're going back. But you won't be who they remember. They'll see your face. They'll hear your voice. But the island will speak through you now, quietly. With every choice you make, with every secret you don't tell, you survived. But not alone. You carry the 10th verse, the one no one wrote down, the one no one dared speak. Because it doesn't rhyme, and it doesn't end. You step onto the shore. No one greets you. No fanfare, just wind and dusk, and the sound of the sea forgetting your name. You walk into town. You fade into the crowd. But the island doesn't stay behind. It walks with you. Everywhere.